Greetings, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Welcome to Viral Transmissions, episode number 28. I'm Joe Foljam. Joining me, as usual, is my co-host, Dr. Rob Tarswell. And coffee.
Coffee.
Viral Transmissions is supported in part by the BC Humanist Association. You can learn more at bchumanist.ca. So we got a whole bunch of COVID news and science to discuss. The title of this episode. We're trying to pick titles based on what we've got. This title for this one, if you might have noticed at the top of the Twitch thing, is Don't Catch the Wave. And we'll find out pretty soon when we start talking about numbers.
Great choice.
Yeah, so by the numbers, the world is up to 39.2 million cases and 996,000 deaths. Almost at a million. I believe in you, world. You can do it with help from America.
So by tomorrow, we will have one Canada's worth of cases.
And
we'll pass 1 million deaths tomorrow, no problem.
Yeah.
One quarter of those from the U.S.
And we'll get to the way the numbers are looking. USA is up to 7.1 million cases, 204,000 deaths.
Yep, still the number 3 cause of death after heart attack and cancer.
Yeah.
Looking good, coronavirus.
Yeah. Canada is at 148,000 cases and 9,242 deaths, which seems fine. Again, much, much lower than America's, but I'm looking at the daily change of new cases graph for Canada, which actually, let me just bring it up for new cases.
There is an upward slope there that we are looking at anxiously.
This is what I mean by the wave. Like
it has that exponential look to it.
It really does. Like it's kind of scary to me. Let's get this on the screen. There we go. So here's our first wave, right? This was when we were all, it was like very few people had it. Look at this is March. My goodness, March. Remember when we were so young? And then all of a sudden, this is very dangerous.
Slammage. Boom.
Ow, we should do something. And then we do something. And then we get to here and everybody goes, why are we crushing the economy? We have to open things and masks don't work and it's all a conspiracy and everything's been, This is so bad. This is
fair. Most Canadians aren't doing that, but it doesn't take.
That's what's going to happen.
It doesn't. Yeah. Whee!
Sorry.
Yeah, unless we buckle down now. I'm not sure why Joe made gurgling noises there, but perhaps it's the death rattle of the coronavirus.
No.
So yeah, that's not a very pleasing looking graph. It's not as sharp or fast as our April and late March curve, but it is certainly heading in the wrong direction at a time when all the kids are back in school. And generally speaking, people are just less freaked out about it. People are less collectively minded and looking to our authorities for answers, which is unfortunate. So we're going to tend to possibly be more lackadaisical, more indifferent, and it might be harder to button this curve down than it was to button the last one down.
Yeah, that's exactly my worry. That like okay, the first one happened, but we were all worried about it and all went, okay, let's do this thing. And the denialists were not as prevalent, right? They had certainly not spread their message as much as they seem to have now. But now it seems like even here in Canada, that there seems to be a big upswelling of anti-mask, anti-COVID science, people who don't believe it's real or something to worry about.
There's another
happening.
Save the Children rally in Vancouver today, which is it's
just QAnon.
QAnon,
QAnon in Canada. It's ridiculous.
So Schemiel notes, it's interesting the US's version of that wave is almost the reverse of Canada's. Yeah. We're always one step behind America. And it seems like this is no exception.
Yeah. So let's take a look at America's here. Let me do this here. I'll get the thing going. Because it also bothers me. So here's America's. Let's get that full screen.
Flip it over, baby. Yeah.
so we got this the big rise, and then the oh no, we better do something, and they went, well, I guess we'll kind of do. Actually, what's going on here is a whole bunch of America, specifically New York, going, oh fuck, we'd better cut our numbers down, while at the same time a whole bunch of America went, we don't give a fuck, and the big down from New York and the big up from everybody else became this.
Sort of a flat there for a while.
Yeah, just a slight decline, and then like what happened on June 1st? Because that's 2 weeks. Right there is where
if you remember, we talked about it. It was Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, you're right.
Is, right, the May long weekend in the U.S. And we were sitting there watching for cases to take off, hospitalizations to take off, and they did. And the deaths did come back up, but they sort of stopped at around 1,000 a day because this second wave in the U.S. was hitting mainly 20-somethings who don't. I mean, lots of them die. Lots and lots of them did die. 1,000 a day died. But the first wave was hitting a lot of long-term care homes, whereas the second wave was hitting 20-something. So that difference of about 60 years accounted for the differences in mortality. And America kind of sort of buttoned things down to only 40,000 cases a day, and zip, they're on the upswing again. And what did we just have about 3 weeks ago? Labor Day.
Yeah, you can already see this rise right here. Like it did, we got a huge dip on. I guess that's on Labor Day, the 8th. When was look at this giant drop here, specifically on the 7th, 8th. Anyway, this one drop, and then we're going right back up right there.
Yeah,
and,
so that big drop would have probably been the 3-day weekend where they wouldn't have been counting stats. They just or just kind of bundling them to release, and then there's that big shoot after Labor Day, and so
and these upswings are all as we're going back to school. That's another thing that really bothers. Like that just scares me about this is like regardless of going back to school, we're on an upswing.
Right.
And so we're sending kids back to school on an upswing.
Yeah.
Which means the chances of those kids being infected is higher, which means they're then going to have higher chances to spread it at school, which means they're going to spread it back at their homes when they catch it from a schoolmate who's in their bubble, and then those families get it, and it's just gonna.
Right.
Like the whole we've got to save the economy, people. I feel like this is going to crash economies hard. That
there's a good chance the second wave will be much, much worse than the first wave, because the first wave there was a lot of social buy-in to the need to kind of let's pause things, let's get the kids out of school, let's get social benefits rolling. But now it's the case of the kids got to be in school, and
no, they don't.
In Canada, the CERB benefit, or CERB, CERB, is dropping from $2,000 a month to I think $400 a week. So that's a 20% haircut on that benefit. That's going to hit a lot of people whose industries haven't magically reappeared, right? If you're in the restaurant and food and beverage services industry, it's not like suddenly you're back at work. Mm-hmm. Some of them are, but the vast bulk of them aren't. And you're getting a 20% pay cut. Here you go. So, yeah, I wonder. I think my hunch, I don't know. I can't point to direct evidence for this, just historical evidence. Second waves tend to be bigger. Probably related to a lot of the factors that we're experiencing. It's that burnout, that indifference, which kind of translates into kind of governmental indifference. Mm-hmm. And the virus never sleeps. The virus never gets bored. And boom. And then you add on top of that respiratory virus season. So there are going to be all sorts of people who are getting the flu and the coronavirus, which I have a feeling is going to be a pretty deadly combination. Because coronavirus is already deadly enough. Flu is already deadly enough. They probably going to be an enormous physiological burden together that will extraordinarily strain your heart, your blood vessels, your lungs. And we're going to see heart attacks. We're going to see strokes. We're going to see respiratory failure. Just as cases are already climbing, hospitals are getting fuller again. ICUs are going to be full. So can we expect to see people dying in hallways again like in April? Maybe. I hope not. But I mean, remember back in April in BC, we quickly emptied out all the hospitals to make space. That's not happening this time. We're not seeing a big emptying of the hospitals in response to that kind of the way it hit northern Italy so hard and so fast. So is Canada looking at, is it our turn in the Italy blender? I hope not, but I mean, we do have many more contact tracers in place. We have much better handle on how the virus spreads.
Yeah.
But is that enough to actually stop it? I guess time will tell.
So my hope for us, at least for Canada, and I guess specifically for BC, is that they are keeping an eye on things so closely that when it does all go, like I think right now they're probably like maybe it won't be too bad, but if what we are fearing happens, that this wave just surges, I'm fairly confident they'll go, okay, whoa, okay. Time to clamp down again. Time to actually lock down. Time to enforce masks. And I think they're probably prepped to be able to do that quickly as well.
I hope so. I mean, I remember back in March, April when they first introduced the 4-stage plan, which is very similar to the stages everywhere else. The idea was, hey, we can move up stages, we can also move down stages as well if we have to. And hey, if we got to go back to stage 2, that's okay.
Yeah.
But will the federal government support be there to the same level of robustness this time? I hope so. I don't know. Plus, here in BC, we're having a provincial election.
Yeah.
In the middle of all this. Now, all of you folks, if you're in BC, get yourself one of these. This is a mail-in ballot. I highly recommend it. I got it for myself. It's my voting package. Haven't filled it out yet because it just came in the mail Friday. But there's been higher demand than ever for voting mail packages. I think there were over 200,000 demanded, which is kind of amazing in a province of 5 million, considering the previous highest number of vote-in, I think, was around 20,000. So it's already 10 times the demand it usually is. But I think absolutely this should be if there's ever going to be a mail-in election in BC, this is the election that should be the mail-in election. Don't go stand in lines on polling day. Please don't do that. As flu season is taking off and the coronavirus second wave is taking off.
So the deadline to register to vote by mail was yesterday, sadly.
Oh. So we're telling you, okay, literally all I did was just mock and torment you by showing you my vote by mail packet.
Yeah. So if you don't register by the deadline, you can still register when you vote in person. So this is registering to vote. What is going on here?
So if you are a registered voter, you can.
So if you are a registered voter, I guess yes. Okay, so that's what this article is saying.
Okay.
Any voter in the province can request a vote by mail package from Elections BC online or by calling voter services. Let's just put this link in the thing.
Yeah.
There. You can read that if you're in BC.
Do it.
I'm going to go get that. Yeah, I'm going to request that package myself.
We don't have a postmaster general who is taking apart mail sorting machines. We don't have wild conspiracy theories about voter fraud in Canada. All elections in Canada are run by Elections Canada. It is a non-partisan governmental organization. The Chief Electoral Officer of Canada, by law, cannot vote. It is a non-partisan position. And the integrity of Canada's elections is secure.
Yeah.
So get your package and pop it in the mail.
Why aren't more electoral things done by enforced independent parties? That's what I always worry about when I hear about gerrymandering in the United States.
Absolutely amazing, right?
Blows my mind that the party that wins gets to redraw the map for the next election. That makes that is the sign of a broken democracy to me. Nonsense.
So in Canada, again, we have non-partisan groups that create electoral boundaries, and they're basically created. They try to adhere to just it kind of looks like a square, and it is supposed to be representative of a population group. And that's really about it. So, which is kind of how it should be everywhere, so that everybody's vote counts as a vote.
Yeah.
Get your shit together, America. Democracy 1.0, which the world is seriously due. You guys are on the Windows XP of democracy. Catch up. Catch up.
Yeah.
Catch up to Windows 10. All right.
Yeah, brutal. Sorry for that temporary glitch there. I accidentally popped to a different screen for a while on the stream.
Oh, good.
Let's get into news. We got some good
Yeah.
news here. Rob, do you want to lead off with that?
Yeah. So a big agreement. There are 156 nations that just on their own have decided to create a consortium to share vaccine development and vaccine rollout, and essentially have said, you know what, we're never going to get anywhere trying to do this through the UN because the Security Council is going to veto any effort. So screw the UN. We're just going to go ahead and do this so we don't have to sit there listening to Russia, China, and the US bicker because of their opposite interests, or so they say, and somebody's going to veto it. We're just going to go ahead and do it. And we did it. And there's now information sharing, there's technology sharing, there's going to be vaccine sharing. It's almost sort of what we had hoped that the UN would do.
Right.
But the pandemic is forcing us to create organizations actually doing the UN's job. And that's fine, as long as the job's getting done. And what do you know? Who didn't sign the deal? China and the US. Wah, wah.
Is Russia in?
I don't know, but I believe Russia
They're
is
not in the article, but so they're not mentioned in the article either way. I just did a quick search.
Is the list of all 156 countries in the article?
Let's see.
Because then you could just do a control F.
Oh no! I reloaded it, and now it's saying that I have to register to read it. God, hold on. It's okay.
Ran out of your free articles for the month.
Yeah, it's all right. There's incognito mode for that.
Well, incognito mode has been corrupted by news agencies. They know when you're in incognito mode now.
Yeah, Google is pulling out the ability to do that. They have to do some fairly big changes to the Chrome browser, but they don't want you to be able to detect that it's an incognito browser. Yeah.
Oh, so Chrome is gonna. Oh, so it's measures and countermeasures.
Yes.
Now Google
100%.
is gonna. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So all you kids out there, incognito mode isn't just for porn. It's for news sites.
Yeah.
So you don't run over your 5 article a month limit.
Here we go. Where is it? There was a list of.
Joe can't get there from here.
I can't find a list. No. Anyway, sorry.
All right.
I can't.
So
find
we
a list.
don't know. We know China is out. The U.S. is out. Russia maybe in, possibly in. Let us know in the comments.
So what is America's plan for a vaccine then?
Oh, well, Trump announces that he'll overrule the FDA on a vaccine. So sorry, America. For the next, what is it, month-ish, 5-6 weeks, you're still in Trump land. And even though half of you hate him, you gave him the golden ticket, and he's using it. So Trump has announced that he'll overrule the FDA, which doesn't mean that he'll stop a vaccine that he thinks is unsafe.
Of course not.
It's going to probably, and like we talked about last week, there seemed to be some shenanigans around Pfizer. So it could be that Pfizer comes out to an early lead and applies for an emergency use authorization, and Trump picks up the phone at 11 at night and says, make that happen. And as we've all found out to our horror, because what happens to America definitely affects Canada and certainly affects the rest of the world, there are a lot fewer constitutional checks and balances on executive authority than you all thought. And he could probably just make that happen. And so you'll see lines of red hats getting their FDA vaccine, and he'll be
Will they though? Will they though?
Yeah, it's a good question, because that's where Q lives, and Q and anti-vax. Basically, they've had their shotgun wedding, so remains to be seen.
Yeah, this is very interesting because he's been spreading like it's a hoax, it's bullshit. They all think, oh, he's just playing the long game. We're not even going to need a vaccine. And then, like, it's obvious why he's doing this. He wants to announce he's got a vaccine before the election so that people will vote for him because he's got a vaccine. But the thing is, those people who want to vote for him don't believe in vaccines.
Yeah. But Trump doesn't pay attention to
Right.
a lot of the nuance in his base. He never heard of Q before he got in. Clearly, had never heard of Q
So-
before he got asked about it, and said, "Well, I hear they like me, and I hear they're patriots."
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, he knew about them. He knew about
Well,
them.
but that was clearly
yeah,
all
he
he knew,
acted.
right?
Yeah, they like him. That's yeah. He knows that they're nuts, but he also knows that they like him, and so that's all he cares.
Right.
That's why he won't talk about him. I wonder if he's in a no-win situation though, because like in order to like legitimately win the election, like he could still steal it, he's gonna need to convince those voters who totally believe that a vaccine is real. But he's going to have to like that he has a vaccine or that he's done something to actually do anything about COVID.
Well, I mean, the good thing if you're Trump is the hardcore rabid base is going to vote for him regardless, and he's
Right.
just going to trot this out as a win
So,
to try and leverage with whoever might be still persuadable at this point.
but I don't know who that is. Like,
Yeah,
if
I don't know
you're-
either.
If you're on Team Trump, you don't believe in a vaccine, and if you're not, you are not going to believe Donald Trump declaring a vaccine over the FDA. So
Yeah, he doesn't know that. He's just going for it. He's just going for it.
yeah. Ischemio
So
brings
Ischemio
up.
asks, should Canada be a pal and invade us again real quick? Well, you need to watch The Mouse That Roared. That was a country that invaded America and somehow ended up winning. They were going to invade, immediately surrender, and then seek foreign aid. But they actually ended up winning the war. And it's I think a Peter Sellers movie from
Oh, okay.
back in the day. Way back in the day, because, I mean, he died in 79. Revealing my age. Yeah, I loved Peter Sellers when I was a kid. I was devastated when he died. I was 10 years old. It was the worst thing that ever happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
After
could
all
quote
these
the
years,
Peter-
I learned something new.
Hey, how about that, right? Yeah. I could quote the Pink Panther movies like end
Okay.
to end. Yeah. So yeah, we'd consider it, but it could turn out pretty badly for us. And
I don't think.
if you wanted a war against America, would you want it, Joe?
What do we gain?
Would you want it? I
No.
Right?
And also, war is what you guys have been focusing on. Like, you put all your stat points into war lately, and you're asking you're asking the country who put all its stat points into diplomacy, and some into social services, to switch to a military thing. No, it's not. It's not how we fight.
Yeah, we could get spanked pretty hard.
I think what we have to do is instead perhaps open the borders to reasonable Americans. We'll need some kind of anti-Q test at the border, and then just invite all the reasonable ones up here. And then for about 20 or 30 years or so, a whole other generation of people to be created. That's when we build our industrial base. And then we're ready to return those people to America by coming down militarily. You can't just switch your economy over to a military right away. And you need the productive base. I've been playing way too much Stellaris in Civilization lately. So what I'm telling you is we can't do it. Sorry.
The border test question could be something like this. So, do you want to save the children? And if the answer is yes, is rejected. You answer yes, you're rejected at the border.
Just
If
ask.
if somebody says like, yes, or I don't know what you're asking me. Okay, come in.
Is healthcare we should make sure something everybody has? Yeah. Okay, you're in.
Yeah. Trump's a level 9 multi-class bard barbarian. He uses brute force when his awful flavor of charisma doesn't work.
Right? But he's a barbarian who was born into an aristocratic family. Right? So every time his bullshit barbarian low diplomacy score fucks things up, the aristocratic benefit jumps in and nobody can say anything or call him on it. Because that's the prince's son. That is Fred Trump's darling. How we cannot possibly, he has the power of so much money, let him get away with it. And so that barbarian through his whole life got away with all his bullshit. Trump is, they're going to be tearing apart how Trump became Trump for a long, long time. And
Tosses his money and the DM says, okay, yeah, well, he hasn't been tossing a whole lot of money, as we are discovering from the tax returns today. I wish I could have paid no federal tax in 10 of the last 15 years. I'd be in
right?
much better shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But
But it's not tossing money. It's that your money gives you an intimidation bonus, right? To any role that you make, right? Like when you try to go after Trump to pay on a bill that he hasn't paid you, he threatens to pay his lawyers to sue you instead. And like he will, so that more often than not he doesn't have to, so that overall it costs him less money. God, I hate this guy. I hate fucking rich people. So yeah, let's move on. Speaking of assholes, and pointing out that Canada's not the land of milk and honey that everybody thinks it is.
yeah, we're in a bit of trouble. We're in a bit of trouble up here.
So, I mean, the title I've written in our research document is "Assholes Threaten BC's Dr. Bonnie Henry's Life." BC's chief health officer says she's received death threats and abuse. She's had to have security at her house. So she's been this just level-headed, mild, straightforward, confident but calm like leader for BC. She's been making all these great decisions for us and being just like outstanding for BC, and she's getting death threats.
What a time to be alive.
What a time to be.
Yeah.
I tell you, that information superhighway has really carried through with the information of a lot of humans are garbage. Like, we were all happy about we'd have the internet, and speaking as an old guy who lived pre-internet, we've got this information superhighway. All this information is at your fingertips, especially knowledge that people are garbage.
Right. Or just, very emotionally activating disinformation, which always has the advantage over real information.
Yeah.
Because the real universe just isn't enough for a lot of people. They want the universe to conform to their biases, right? So
yeah.
One of my favorite examples, I think, of people who not disinformation, yeah. So the anthropologist Wade Davis, who studied the interaction of people and plants, and particularly pharmacologically active plants.
Okay.
He talked about how maybe certain pharmacological properties in plants could be responsible for part of the voodoo effect in Haiti. He studied that, but also there's a lot of cultural and psychological effects. And people said, I think in an interview once somebody said, wow, it's just plants that you kind of take some of the wonder and the mystery out of the universe, and he just kind of shouts into the microphone, plants eat light, isn't that good enough?
Yeah, right? Like, can you imagine if all you had to eat was light?
The universe is already pretty great if you know how to dial into it. There's a lot of things out there that are wonderful and wondrous, and COVID-19 is real. That in itself is a source of amazing wonder. These tiny, naturally created killer robots are trying to get inside you and mess you up bad.
Yeah.
And we have the tools to stop them, but no, that's not good enough. You have to accept the fact that there's this overarching conspiracy and blood libel and adrenochrome, and you're just trying to control us with Bill Gates microchips.
But at least the people responsible for our health are going to keep us fully informed as to all of the information around us, like, say, listing school COVID-19 cases.
Well, there, So in BC, as you know, we've talked about the Nanaimo bathtub races, and they're underway. There have been schools that have been listed with exposures, and those lists have been put together by reporters so far, because the provincial health office or an officer has said, we're not going to list all schools where there are COVID-19 cases, and I suspect this is probably similar to back in March, April, whenever there were cases in communities. If there wasn't a risk to the public, Dr. Henry would specifically not name the town. So she wouldn't say, oh, there's a case in Cranbrook, and freak out the people of Cranbrook. If there was an outbreak in Cranbrook, she'd say, okay, yes, there's an outbreak in Cranbrook. It's at this farm. Health officers are on the scene and investigating, and it's contained, and we don't think there's a risk to the public at this time. Whereas a lot of other provinces were saying, yeah, there's X number of cases here, X number of cases there. The BC position was the virus is everywhere in the province, and you just need to be universally using these precautions. Back then, it wasn't masks that hadn't kind of come into the discussion yet, and BC has still kind of been soft pedaling on masks, even though the evidence is just crushingly overwhelming at this point that masks are effective. It's been a very libertarian approach on masks rather than a mandated approach on masks, and I guess that's not an unreasonable philosophical position you can take. It's just kind of a drag that we don't have a mask mandate. Even Ontario has a mask mandate, and it seems to be going fine, and nobody's like overly freaking out about it.
It does seem like a lot of our stores and stuff are doing their own mask mandates.
Yeah, so businesses are starting to do it privately.
Yeah.
But if you're a parent, don't you just want to know if there's been a case in your school? Don't you just want to know that? Like, yeah, there's a case. It was in the custodial staff, but there's the individual's in quarantine. There's no risk to the public. Carry on. But now it just kind of feels ominous. I don't know if they're doing a great job on the public communication, because there's high level of fear that is not being addressed when you say, well, we're not going to tell you the list of where all the school outbreaks are.
Yeah.
What? But stay in your bubble of 6.
Yeah. Your bubble of 6 that then connects to another bubble of 6 in 5 different places.
It's like a Eskimo says, it's like Among Us, but someone isn't an imposter. They're just sick.
Totally. Oh, I was thinking that while we were playing. I didn't even mention it while we were playing, but yeah, it's totally a COVID simulator. Dude, are you going to cough on me? Don't cough on me. Yeah. We have a couple of news articles on Sweden. We got to get through these. At first, we were like, "Oh, yay, Sweden's changing their mind on stuff." Sweden, of course, being famous for, we'll just let it go and we'll get herd immunity. And the two articles are Sweden's worrying infections might mean a change, and then another one that says the title is Sweden shifts its no lockdown strategy, but when I looked at the article, it